The assassin has overcome my final defense, and now he's come to murder me. In the end, what separates a man from a slave? Money? Power? No. A man chooses. A slave obeys. You think you have memories. A farm. A family. An airplane. A crash. And then this place. Was there really a family? Did that airplane crash? Or was it hijacked? Forced down. Forced down by something less than a man, something bred to sleepwalk through life until they are activated by a simple phrase spoken by their kindly master. Was a man sent to kill, or a slave? A man chooses. A slave obeys.
Good evening. This is Wade Kramer, with the man with the plan, aka Dylan, and Brian Burchett.
Yes.
Sorry, I keep forgetting about that last name.
No,
We
that's
are
fine.
here to talk about psychoanalytics for our project for Miss Ann Redding's video games as literature class. Today, I will be talking about Halo, more specifically Master Chief. Dylan will be talking about Bioshock, more specifically the main character Jack. And Brian is going to be talking about Zelda, more specifically Ganondorf. So, Brian, not Brian, Pleh. Dylan, would you like to start?
Sure. To make a long story short, Bioshock is the story of a man named Jack. Well, to put it like as simple as possible, there's a lot more to Bioshock than just Jack. Basically, basically, he was he starts the game off as a normal guy thinking that he grew up on a farm with a mom and a dad, like that American apple pie lifestyle. But later in the game, he sees these visions of Andrew Ryan, the guy behind Rapture, like the like the underwater city of Rapture that the game takes place in. Like he's the guy who started that whole thing. You see a vision of a lady dancer flirting with him, and once you start walking into her room to investigate, well, before you get into her room, you hear her you're basically screaming and begging Ryan to forgive her, like for selling the embryo. You don't really know what that means. You just think that Andrew Ryan was a sleazy guy that had a shady past because he wanted to make sure that no one knew about his mistress. But he ended up killing this girl. You find out later in the game. Find out later in the game that you actually were that embryo that got sold, and like the reason your body is absorbing all these powers without you ending up like one of the others. Like there's these enemies called splicers in the game. Like they're corrupted by Adam, but you take the same thing they get and you're fine. Like you're still a normal guy. Reason is reason is you were taken into a lab to be experimented on, like as an embryo. Like Jack was given fake memories of a farm and a life. And
So all the memories were implanted while he was still an embryo, you're saying.
basically, I'm not sure exact how the process went. Like, it was kind of vague on how exactly it went, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was when he was an embryo. They had to give him a very accelerated lifespan so that he could grow into adult faster, so that he could grow up fast to take down Andrew Ryan, so that the guy who took the embryo, his name is I think Franklin Fontaine. Fontaine, he wanted to take rapture for himself from Ryan, so he used the embryo, conducted experiments on it, altered it, and that's how we got Jack, a man without choice. Which actually kind of ties into Ganondorf and Master Chief because Master Chief, like, he never had a choice in his life on what he really wanted to do. Like, he was just taken, right?
Yeah. Age 6, he was kidnapped by ONI, a government research program that was starting on their Spartan program, and they had theorized that the best candidates were children who were young and easily moldable. So it's a very unethical experiment. It altered all the children physically and mentally, because the children at age 6, I remind you, at age 6, went through grueling military training and studying just so that they were molded into this perfect soldier for the army. And then what was it? I have it here. At age 12, the children were put into augmentation. So they stuck them full of chemicals to enhance their bodies, their skeletal structure, their muscles. And that process was extremely deadly. It physically disabled 12 of the kids. It killed 30 of them, and only 33 were left from the entire pack of children that had been abducted.
Yeah, you think they let their bodies mature at least a little more. I wouldn't have started at 12.
Well, that was the most ideal because their bodies were still growing. So they could change them so that while the bodies matured, it would help not stiffen, solidify, I guess you could say, solidify the procedure so that they wouldn't like revert back or anything. But that can have a very strong toll, especially on children, especially before the augmentations, because just child's minds are easily molded, and you can put so many ideals or just ideas into their head that they'll think for like most of their life until either it's challenged or they just break because of it.
Yeah, I hear that your personality, like who you are, is like most of the time formed by the time you're 9. Or 9
Yeah.
is like when your personality kind of solidifies a bit. I mean, it's open to change, but you know what I mean.
And parents, teachers, anyone that is close to you has a big influence on what you learn, how you act. So abducting the children at 6 when their mind is like still fresh, and putting them through rough training, putting them through teaching lessons about military tactics or all this other stuff that they were put through just to mold their minds into the perfect soldier. Girls and boys as well. There was no, they took equally from that. So just, it, it's difficult to say, but it's in the real world, it's, you look at ISIS, how they had child soldiers, and how they took them, they indoctrinated them at an early age, and they took them from like these uh, situations, like their parent had died from fighting with another country. So the children already had a hatred for that country. So then they used that to mold the children into war machines to fight that country. So it's kind of the same thing with Master Chief, because they didn't make the Spartans to fight aliens like you do in the video games. They were made to fight insurrectionists that were challenging the government.
Oh yeah.
So very, very dark stuff.
Yeah, thank God. I mean, like it's unethical as hell that they take them away from their parents, but at the same time, it does make perfect sense. Like
Oh
the
yeah, and what made it worse was they took the kids without the parents' consent at all, and then they replaced the kids with flash clones, which were supposed to die like maybe 2 days after they were put into circulation. So it would look like the kids had died, and then no one would care about them anymore because they didn't think they were alive.
yeah, I always wondered if any of them would try to, like any of the Spartans would ever try to find their parents. I mean, I doubt
One
any of
of
them are interested, but
one of them did, but incidentally, the Flash clone was still alive, and it was this whole ethical dilemma with that Spartan whether to kill the Flash clone because she had lived way longer than she should have, and in the end, she went back to Oni and to the Spartan program and left the clone alive. But that's a whole different thing.
it's pretty cool. Hey Brian, you want to talk about Ganon?
Uh, okay. So, I guess to start, uh, um, so he was, shoot, how do I? So, in the Zelda series, there's a race called, they're known as Gerudo. Um, and they are made up in pretty much entirely of women. But once every 100 years, there is a male born, and then that male goes on to become, the king of this race of Gerudo. um, so Ganondorf was this male. He was raised by a surrogate mother. Well, actually, to be more precise, two witches.
Hmm.
These witches are, um, powerful magicians in their own right. And the Gerudos in general, they're very like cruel and dangerous thieves. So, no doubt, Ganondorf was kind of raised to have these characteristics, being cruel and dangerous. Let me look at my notes here again.
So do we know why he was given to the witches?
To be raised. I couldn't find that exactly. Why it was the witches that raised him, but um, yeah, I couldn't find out an exact reason. Let me see.
Kind of notice like all our characters are defined by their childhoods, like what
Yeah.
happened to them. Like with Jack, it's like I wouldn't call it nature, but at the same time, he wasn't really nurtured either. Like given fake memories, it's not even. I wouldn't call it nature or nurture. It's just artificial, like artificial hindrance to him. And with Master Chief, it's definitely a lot of nurture.
Yeah.
Um, actually, there was something else I wanted to kind of touch on with Ganondorf. So the Gerudo live. They typically live in each game in the Zelda series within a desert area. So this. Oh, where are my notes here? Harsh and like unforgiving area, the desert. And Ganondorf saw how hard his people were having it, living in these harsh conditions. And he also saw the rest of Hyrule where everybody else was, and everyone's lively, prosperous, and all that. And he wanted to take over Hyrule just kind of as a way to kind of escape how he was living and how his people were living as well.
So, because he was raised in a tough environment by tough people, he only saw like a way to fight against Hyrule and not talk it through or something like that.
I mean, again, he was kind of raised to be like not really caring or understanding, if you know what I mean. Like, because again, the Gerudo are, these cruel and dangerous warriors or thieves, what have you.
Yeah, actually would make sense how this guy is able to try to take over an entire kingdom without questioning the ethics, and like if there's a possibility of negotiations. I'm not a Zelda fan at all. Like I've always seen Ganon as like just the bad guy, but after hearing what you had to say, Brian, actually does add to it.
And then these motives kind of get revealed bit by bit in each game. But the bit that I said about him like seeing the rest of Hyrule being prosperous, that particular bit was revealed in the Wind Waker game.
Hey, I'm sorry, quick cut in. We are at 17 minutes and 41 seconds.
Ooh, already.
I know, right?
Wow.
That's fine. Just keep going.
Yeah, that's fine. We could go a little over.
Yeah, a little bit longer should be fine. Is there anything else I want to say here, though? Let me just check.
Now, wasn't there a prophecy about him being born? Like the male to be born would be evil?
Evil.
I'm not a Zelda fan either, so I'm limited on my knowledge.
I mean, what I've always heard and read playing the games is that this male born to the Gerudo would be simply raised to be king. Um, now, whether that means like he's good or evil, I can't really say for sure. But given that the Gerudo are these, um,
Tribalistic.
yeah, dangerous people, it's more than likely that this king will also come to be evil.
And it also
I-
doesn't specify
think.
what kind of king.
Mm,
So he could have just been the king of the uh, his race, but instead he chose
Oh.
to try to be king of everything.
well, okay, yeah, I probably should have clarified that, but this male born to the Gerudo is raised to be the Gerudo king.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I should have clarified that, um, but yeah, Ganondorf wants to try to take over, like the rest of Hyrule, the rest of the world.
Yeah, that is.
And if you're only gonna get one guy in a whole 100 years, might as well get the most out of him.
Yeah.
So yeah, oh, that's very interesting.
Do you have anything more to say about Bioshock, or have you said your piece?
One more thing. I'm just gonna add, like the visions he has, they're definitely big foreshadowings of what he is, but like the major thing about the game is choice, and you could either play the game as kind of a monster killing like these little girls for their life essence so that you can get more power, or you could choose to like uncorrupt them. Like they were affected by the atom too, but they're not like the splicers that are killing people. Like they're just taking like a plasma from dead bodies. Like they're not good or evil, but they are corrupted. So you could choose to either absorb their power or just absorb a tiny bit of power, but make them normal again.
Now, does that choice tie in with his theoretical mentality?
It actually,
Like, could you play through as him being this monstrous person, or play through as him being kind?
yeah, that's actually the beauty of it. Like if like both of them are pretty cool story reasons. Like you decide to play as this monster killing little kids. You're basically doing everything that you were designed to do, like from the moment you were quote unquote born. Or like if you go the peaceful route and try saving these little girls, you can actually for the first time say that Jack is making a choice for himself to, say no to the people who designed him to be the way he is. Like for the
Who
first time ever,
programmed him?
he's denying his programming and actually making a choice to help someone besides himself and the scientist that messed with his mind. I mean, both endings. I mean, both paths you take are very interesting, but personally, I kind of prefer where he defies his programming and saves these kids, makes choices for himself, chooses not to be a monster like he was meant to be.
Yeah, you can't really say that about Master Chief, though. It's very hard to play through a pacifist run in Halo. The only time his programming is actually questioned is in Halo 4 when he loses someone. And he's never felt that way. Because I believe, because it's That's 12 or 16. I forget again. What did I say before? Did I say 16? Here's this. 14. I was wrong. It was 14. At 14, he was augmented, and I believe it was a couple years before Halo, so he might have been around 20 during the first Halo, and Halo 2 and 3 happened basically right after each other. So he's around 30 or low 20s in Halo 4 when he actually loses someone. So he's still a child. Not really a child, but he's never had to face that kind of thing.
Like, for the first time ever, he's kind of like he's being a human, like, instead of
Yeah.
a soldier. Like, he's
Yeah.
kind of. He doesn't really know what's going on. Like, all he knows is war, and he loses
Mhm.
someone important to him, and, like, he's getting these feelings he's never had before in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I just.
Eh.
Sorry?
No, keep going.
I was about to say, like, I've said everything for Bioshock. I don't really have anything else to add for my game.
You got anything else for Zelda
Um,
or for Ganon?
not really. I think I said most of what I wanted to, so I'm good.
Alright.
All right. And I have said everything about Halo. So this is officially the end of the podcast. Thank you for listening and have a good night.
Have a good night.
Our duty as soldiers is to protect humanity, whatever the cost.
You say that like soldiers and humanity are two different things. I mean, soldiers aren't machines. We're just people.